Hey, this is Brett Gursky. Welcome to another episode of On the List. This is episode number 73. It's July 2022. We are coming to you from the BLEAV network. My guest today is a good friend of mine who's also a very talented actor. We first got to know him from critically acclaimed shows like American Crime and Sharp Objects. He also starred in popular movies like You Get Me and The Outpost. His latest film, Where the Crawdads Sing, is not only based on one of the most beloved books of all time, but it's also produced by Reese Witherspoon and Hello Sunshine. After this movie comes out on July 15th, everybody's going to know his name. Of course, I'm talking about Taylor John Smith. What's up, Taylor?
Damn, dude, that was an intro. I love that.
Nice.
That was awesome.
Was there already a Taylor Smith in SAG? Is that why you're Taylor John Smith?
You know what? Even growing up, it's funny. Taylor Swift wrote a song for the film,
right?
Where the Crawdads Sing, and people like growing up used to like use that as a jab at me. I'm like, what are you talking? Like, she's like the coolest chick in the world. If I can be somewhat close to her, it'd be rad. A couple letters off. But then I was just, thinking Taylor Smith. I love my name, but there wasn't that like thing to it. So I tossed my middle name, John, in there, and just, I don't know. Ever since I started, it's just been Taylor John Smith.
I like it.
3 first names, I guess.
No, I like it. It's very formal. I like it.
Yeah. Thanks,
so we are on Zoom right now. So the video from this podcast will be available on YouTube and Instagram. So it is good to see you as always. We haven't seen each other in person in a while.
In a long time. Yeah. Since the Gursky effect started taking place.
The Gursky effect. Why don't you explain? Yeah. Before we get started, I guess the Gursky effect, I always was doing it. There's a Malcolm Gladwell book called Tipping Point. And he describes different kinds of people. And one of the people is a connector. So I just always was this connector. And people would be like, oh, you're a connector, like the book. And I like to connect people to each other, get people jobs, just
projects.
Projects.
Relationships, friendships.
Totally. And so you finally gave it a name, which was great.
The Gursky effect. Yeah. It's like you are the next generation 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. You know what I mean? You are like... You're like that missing Lego piece that everyone looks for in their set when they're trying to build something. You're that guy that's like the middleman.
Oh, I'll take it.
Which I love. Yeah.
That was it was always a compliment. Whenever anything would happen, you just sort of text me and be like, the Gursky effect.
Gursky effect. Exactly.
Yeah. People need reservations at a restaurant. People want to roll in a movie. I try to take care
notes on a script.
Notes on a script.
Got you.
Yeah, exactly. The Gursky effect. So I also want to say, you're probably one of my favorite people I've met in my 20 years in LA because you always have like a very positive energy around you. Do people tell you that all the time? Yeah, you're just always like smiling like you are right now. You're always like, you always have like encouraging words. You have encouraging words for people. Like I'll see you and you'll just sort of like give me some sort of motivator or some sort of advice. I don't know. It's like you just radiate this like joy and positivity, which in a town like LA, which can be brutal sometimes, like it's very, it's a nice thing to have.
Well, I appreciate that, man. Thank you. No, I don't know. Life's hard as it is. I don't know why people try to make it any harder, especially in LA, everyone came out for, a dream of some sort. And we're not the most put together people, maybe emotionally and mentally that, decide to leave where they're from, their hometown and come, try after this crazy, insane dream. And it's hard being out there and constantly hearing no and getting those rejections. So when you get a chance to lift somebody up, I don't know why people don't do it more often.
Oh yeah.
It's like this scarcity mindset I think people develop over time of like, there's not enough to go around. Or if I support somebody that got a job that I wanted, then it's, a bad reflection of myself, or I need to be like, more angry and resentful than stoked for a friend or stoked for somebody you might not even know. And I don't know, there just needs to be more of that because it's already tough to begin with.
Yeah, I agree. I actually feel that too. I'm always genuinely so happy when friends book jobs, whether it's writing, directing, acting. I really feel it. And I'm like, I don't feel there is enough to go around. And
1,000%.
And I love to celebrate everybody's wins. That's kind of what this podcast is, like celebrating people's careers, And I like what you said, because I do say, like, have I done something today to make someone else's life easier is like a great way. It's a great way to live. So I love that. And so I also want to mention about you is that when I first met you, like I noticed you write handwritten thank you notes to people. And I have like a collection of handwritten thank you notes from you. It's like such
really?
Yeah, it's like a nice thing to do. I kept them. Oh yeah, I keep every card I've ever gotten in my life. Like birthday cards. Yeah. I have them in like file folders.
Oh, I'm not there yet. I should probably go through and sort them.
Yeah.
That's really
Well,
sweet. I didn't know you kept them.
yeah, of course. But it was like we would hang out, or I don't know, I'd help you with something. Like even if it was as little as like throwing a party and you were invited, and you would
Yeah.
write like a handwritten note, and you would just like thank me, and then the next time I saw you, you would give it to me. It's a lost art. Like now people just text and email, but the handwritten thank
Yeah.
you note is a great thing.
It's one of my favorite things to do and favorite things to receive as well. Like I'll take over some crazy present or some expensive gift. I would so much rather have like a handwritten note, because I'll have that for forever. People spend a lot of money on like expensive things, and it's fun and it's amazing, but when you're 80, you're not going to be rocking around with like a Birkin bag. You're probably going to have those, the keepsakes that really made an impact on you. So I love handwritten notes.
Yeah, and there's something about seeing it in the person's handwriting, and they sign their name. There's
It's
just
a piece of them.
yeah, classic. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So we first met in Los Angeles, which is where we've mostly hung out. But you just made the move to Miami,
Miami.
where you are right now. It looks beautiful behind you.
Yeah.
So
It's
what inspired the move to Miami?
a couple things. I love LA, but I don't know. I feel like there's it's very tense there right now in a way. And I started finding myself getting a little bit more like agitated than I usually was. So I was like, maybe I just need to go take a little break or get away for a little bit. And I started going to Miami, not on purpose, but it was a wedding, and then a friend's birthday, and then a trip popped up, and I was like, man, I really like the way I feel when I'm out here. And it's hard not to love it because of it's just beautiful. The beaches are amazing. The people are really kind. And then I started flirting with the idea of like, all right, what would my life look like if I decided to go send it and move? And I did a pros and cons list, and like some goals that I wanted to accomplish while I was out here. Cause I don't think it's going to be for forever, but I'm 27 now. I don't have kids. I'm not in a relationship. If I'm going to go make a big move across country, now would be the time to do it. And I'd love to learn Spanish while I'm here. It's like something I'm really interested in. So I'm looking for like different teachers and tutors. And I already got my little Babbel app I've been working on for the last couple of months, but I want to get like into a classroom to like really finalize it. 0% state income tax is pretty sweet. Just the weather, and I love like the Cuban culture, Dominican culture out here, and so I don't know. And everything's very like easy. It's almost like you're living on an island in a way.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I think if there was one silver lining to come out of the pandemic, it was that people can do their jobs from anywhere now, which is
exactly. Yeah.
incredible.
That was another big reason of me being able to go. It's last year and a half, 2 years, I haven't had a single director session meeting that wasn't over Zoom. Some outside, like grabbing lunch or dinner or coffee, but most everything that facilitated me working on a job or meeting someone in the industry was done through Zoom. So I was like, if I don't have to be somewhere specific, I might as well go do it now whilst I can.
Exactly. Yeah. The last 2 years, all my meetings have been on Zoom. My podcast has been on Zoom. It's like, I've been able
it's
to.
also great though.
Yeah.
I know we're both on the East Coast right now, and this is nice. It's like you're in my home right now.
Exactly.
Awesome.
I know. I still have my place in LA, but like I can take these extended visits to Jersey to spend time with my family, my nephew, my nieces, and it's just like the coolest thing because
it's perfect for you too, because you're such a family man as well.
Yeah, you are too. Yeah, I know you are. Yeah. And so we get to like not miss these moments in life,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's nice. So how's Miami treating you so far? Has it been a welcome city for you?
It's funny. I've lived here for 2.5 weeks now. I moved here, I wasn't able to like unpack my boxes because I had to fly back to LA to start press for where the CRAWDADS sing. Right. I was out there for a week, and then I flew home, and I was cutting it way too close when I did this, but I flew home and landed in Miami, rushed back home. I had 30 minutes to shower, pack my bag with some suits, and go to a wedding in London. I was there for a week, and then came back. So I officially yesterday just finished unpacking my boxes.
Perfect timing.
So I've yet to like go out and explore, except for a couple dinners here and there. But it's I have a feeling that this place is going to be home for a while. Nice. I already love it. little interactions like at the gas station and at the grocery store. Like everyone seems very like cheery and happy, and it's a nice change.
That's cool. I got to come down and visit you guys and
Please
check it
do,
out.
yeah.
Now I have somebody there to visit.
Exactly. Come
But it
on through.
also it gives you a chance to live somewhere you've never lived before, like you said. And like as an actor, you go on location to shoot your movies anyway, so your home base can really be anywhere you want, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. And not a lot of projects shoot in LA unless you're on like a lot somewhere doing a multicam that's been going on for a while. And so
Yeah.
you really do just get sent to different places. And it's just going to be an extended on set, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And you can visit LA and New York whenever you want.
Yeah. I'm actually flying back tomorrow for more press. So
Yeah, you have a lot
yeah.
of press coming up, so I'm glad we got
Yeah.
this podcast in here. We've been talking about doing it
Exactly.
for a while, but it's perfect timing
Yeah.
with the movie. But before we talk about the movie, I like to give people backstory about how I know my guests. So we first met in 2016, so we've known each other 6 years now, which is
Yeah.
feels like longer though. I would say I feel like I've known you longer than
6 years doesn't even seem right. Yeah.
Right, I know it's only 6 years, but you had just been cast on the Cruel Intentions TV show that they were doing for NBC, which was written by Roger Cumble, who wrote and directed the movie, and he wrote it with some friends of mine, Lindsay Rosen and Jordan Ross. And then
Yeah.
at the exact same time, you had made a movie called You Get Me, produced by another friend of mine, Nikki Cortese. So they all told me about you separately, about this kid, this up and coming actor. They're like, he's the next big thing. He's the next Leonardo DiCaprio. Like, you got to cast him in something. So I was hearing it from so many people that I got your email and I sent you a script I wrote called Velvet Ropes about nightlife in LA.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
that was how we met, sort of over email. And then we met finally in person at like the Nice Guy or Bootsy Bellows. And then we just started going like weekly dinners at the Nice Guy and
Yeah.
birthdays at Bootsy Bellows, and we were always introducing each other to people, networking, and we've been friends ever since. But it all kind of
It's
stems
crazy to
from
me
people who work
from
with
that
you.
Velvet Ropes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me that's how I always assumed, like when I'd see you out and about, because you're always like very like kind and open and you know everybody, that our first interaction, it must have been like out at a dinner but
Yeah.
it was Velvet Ropes through some friends of ours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they were separately raving about you, which I thought was cool. Like two different projects, both loved you and had a great experience with you. And so it was, I heard this name and that this was like the next big thing. And then, the announcements came out about Cruel Intentions, which was so interesting because that's like my favorite movie ever. And they were making a show about it, and your character on the show would have been the love child of Reese Witherspoon and Ryan Phillippe's characters from the movie.
Which is crazy.
So, yeah, and Ryan's a friend of mine. He played Sebastian, and Reese Witherspoon played Annette, and now she's producing your new movie. So it was kind of...
It's this weird, like, again, the Gursky effect, dude.
I don't know. I don't know if that's the Gursky effect. That's the Taylor John Smith effect. Like you made that kind of happen where it was like you were in their orbit, and then all of a sudden it just sort of, you stayed in their orbit, but in a different way, which I think is cool. And I remember I was there when you finally met Ryan Phillippe in person at Seth MacFarlane's Christmas party.
That's right.
Like, he plays your son on TV.
I'm like, Dad, Dad, where have you been?
Exactly.
Come home.
Right. And then I guess it would be a few more years before you met Reese. So what was that like? How quickly did you tell her that you were on the Cruel Intentions show?
So I didn't tell her actually till like 2 weeks ago when we were doing press all together. We were doing like this live interview thing for, it was like a 30-minute long thing. And at the very beginning, she kind of like was staring at me a little bit, and she was like, "You remind me of a guy I dated in high school," and was like staring at me. I'm like, what a strange way to start the thing, because we're live right now. And I was like, like I play your you're like the love child of you and Ryan. And she goes, "Oh my God, no way." And like we had this quick little conversation about it, but I held on to that. That was like in my my ammo cache for a while.
But it feels very meant to be. It feels like, you were meant to do Cruel Intentions and get to know all the people you knew, and then meant to meant to get this movie. So let's talk about the movie. So even though the show didn't get picked up, it still led you to Reese Witherspoon. So she got the
Yeah.
rights to the book, Where the Crawdads Sing. And it is like one of the most popular books ever. People love it. My mom and her book club read it when it came
No
out.
way.
It's like one of their favorite books they've read. They're all planning to go see the movie together. So that's going to be cool. I think a lot of book clubs are going to go see the movie. It was part of Reese's book club, which is like a
Yep.
big deal. And
Big
now
deal.
she's the producer of the movie, so everything worked out as the universe so often does. So talk to me about Where the Crawdads Sing. Like I feel like it's one of the most anticipated movies of this year for sure. Uh, and so tell me how you got involved.
Yeah.
What was it like?
It was funny. A quick little story.
Yeah.
I had gotten the role. I'll go back to how I got it in a second, but I got in the role, and I remember calling home. I was in Australia filming this movie Blacklight with Liam Neeson,
Yeah.
and I had like just gotten the call, and I remember calling my family group chat, and everyone's on, and I was like, guys, I just got this amazing new job. Where the Crawdads Sing, and my sisters like in unison go, "Shut up! Who are you playing, Chase or Tate?" And I'm like, Tate. They're like, oh, thank God. And then I got off the phone. And they've never cared about any project I've ever worked on before. And I was like, oh
Wow.
my God, is this way over my head? Am I about to go on a journey? And it was.
Yes.
I'd never met so many people that were so invested in a story and in these characters. I was mind blown. But I was in Australia filming that movie, and I had gotten asked to do a chemistry read with Daisy for Tate. And it's so weird doing it over Zoom. Like I didn't have my laptop with me, so I have my little phone, and I'm trying to I see the director, Livy Newman, in a small, square in the corner, and then Daisy's sweet face, like backed up in her hotel room where she was doing it from.
Yeah.
And it went on for like 2.5 hours. And you're like, can they tell if we have chemistry or not through like this little screen? Because I mean, I thought we were getting along great, but also these thoughts started coming into my head. I'm like, there's no way this is the right way to do it. But again, COVID and not being able to travel, it's the only way we were able to.
Yeah, chemistry reads are usually in person, like a mix and
Yeah.
match, and they do screen tests till they find the right combination. So it's awesome that they were able to see the chemistry over Zoom because what else were they gonna do?
Thank God.
Yeah,
Because I couldn't tell at first. And then finally got the job, flew back, and got to read the book through its entirety because I didn't have much time to prepare for the chemistry because I was working on another project. So I only got halfway through the book, and it was by listening to it on the audio book
yeah,
at 1.5 times speed, which I do
yeah.
not recommend. I was trying to
I've done
cram it
that.
in,
Yeah,
and got halfway through, and finally I finished the book on the plane, and I was just like distraught, like emotionally distraught. Yeah, it's such a beautiful book. This sweet flight attendant came and like tapped me on my shoulder to make sure I was okay, because I was just
wow.
like kind of like it really hit me. And that I was about to go tell this story, and it was kind of overwhelming. This beautiful book, this beautiful characters, and then the end is just a gut punch where you're like, oh my God, and you realize what just transpired over the last 300 pages of this book.
Wow.
And I think she had read it as well, because I was like, oh no, I'm sorry, and she goes, oh, I get it, no worries. It's like, it's just a really good read. And she nodded, kind of looked at me strangely, and walked down the aisle. But
Wow.
so many people love this book, and it's kind of weird to be a part of something so incredible.
Yeah, and huge. Yeah. So before that, you hadn't read the full script yet?
No.
They
I
just
just
sent you
knew
the
it was
audition scenes?
just the sides for the chemistry, and I couldn't I forget why I couldn't maybe get to a bookstore. The bookstore was closed, something like that, and it was on a weekend. I had to do. I think Friday I had finished filming, and then Sunday was the chem read on Zoom. So I had 2 days to just cram as much knowledge of it as I could.
I love that you didn't even know what a big deal it was till after you got the role, like that your sisters
Yeah,
loved it because
and maybe it's a good thing.
yeah, I think so because there was less pressure. You didn't realize that it was this like huge phenomenon.
I'm glad I didn't call home before and call
Right.
home after.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
that
so
could have been an issue.
before that, it was just a regular audition that comes through and they like put yourself on tape and
Yeah,
so
exactly.
that's amazing. And they liked the tape obviously and they did the chemistry with Daisy Edgar Jones is the female lead. Yeah.
Brilliant. She's absolutely brilliant. By the
Um,
way, one of the funniest people I've ever met, let
really?
alone gotten to work with. Yeah. We
Yeah.
had to be separated a couple times. Livy and our producers would have to like kind of separate us sometimes during like very intense scenes, because
That's funny.
in the middle we'd have to like we just joke and she'd crack jokes and I kind of have to like pull myself together, uh, and then get back to work. She's just hilarious, like naturally funny.
That's interesting. She's got to do more comedies because she's had a big few years. Like Normal People on Hulu was very big during the
Mhm.
pandemic. Everyone was
Yeah.
quarantined watching that show. That was sort of her breakout. And then she just did a movie called Fresh with Sebastian Stan, also on Hulu.
Under the Banner of Heaven
And
as
Under the Banner
well
of Heaven, yeah, is her limited
on
series with
FX.
Andrew Garfield. Yeah.
But
So
it's all
yeah,
very dark, like character driven
yes,
drama stuff.
right.
And I'm like, go make some people laugh. Go make yourself laugh. Come
Wow.
on.
When she makes a comedy, that's going to change everybody's view.
Yeah, game over.
You guys should do a rom-com together. Maybe that's the
There we
movie.
go. Come on, Sony.
Yeah, that would be great. So, like we said, it's based on a book by Delia Owens. The script was written by Lucy Alibar, and the movie was directed by Olivia Newman. So, Daisy was already cast, obviously, when you
Daisy was
got the
already
part.
cast, because the book really revolves around Daisy's character Kaya.
Right,
She basically plays this woman who grows up in the marsh. She's abandoned by her family, and then later on gets accused of this murder. Um,
right.
and that's kind of the synopsis of it all. But she also develops this relationship with my character Tate as they grow up. One of the only people that didn't leave her until later on in the story, when some things go sideways. But yeah, they develop this beautiful relationship over their shared love of the marsh, nature. He teaches her how to read, and kind of
Oh,
teaches her
wow.
about the world outside of um, the marsh that she grows up in, and they fall in love. But then things start to, as they get older, go awry, and she gets accused of a murder of this guy
Wow.
Chase, who's like the star quarterback, and like comes from the wealthy family in town, and very different lives and ways of living all start to interact.
I can't wait to see it. It sounds so good.
I'm pumped.
So yeah, so let's talk about the cast. So you play Tate, Daisy
Mhm.
plays Kaya, and the rest of the cast, Harris Dickinson is the
Who's
nemesis.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Chase
he's
Andrews.
incredible.
David Strathairn, who's an amazing actor. He plays Tom Milton. That must have been so cool to work with him.
I was just grateful to be in the courtroom when he's, giving his speeches, and you're just you forget that you're supposed to also be your character. I was just
Right.
kind of watching him going like, oh my God, this guy's brilliant. And then go, oh shit, that's right. I got to hold on.
Yeah.
Look, put myself back in the moment. He's
Yeah.
just so good.
Oh yeah. I remember seeing him when I was a kid in The River Wild with Meryl Streep and knowing he was
Hmm.
like a great actor back then. And then since then he was nominated for an Oscar for Best Actor for Good Night and Good Luck. And then last year, Best Supporting Actor for Nomadland.
Yeah. And he
It-
was in Guillermo del Toro's Nightmare Alley.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, he's a great actor. And so you got to work with him. And then
Mhm.
also the parents are Garrett Dillahunt as Pa Clark and
Yeah.
Anna O'Reilly as Ma Clark. Those are her parents. So when you're looking around, are you just feeling so grateful and lucky to be part of such a talented cast?
It's just so cool. It's like this, they pulled out all the stops for the cast.
Yeah.
And even Luke, who played the younger version of me, and
Yeah.
Jojo, who played the younger version of Kaya, they're like, I'm like, you guys are set after. They're so good in this film. Jojo especially, just you're like, what happened when were you just given all the talent, and then like there was none left to go around? They're just so freaking good, and they're
Yeah.
kids. I was eating rocks when I was their age, and they're like just delivering these brilliant performances. Felt like I got
That's
the short end of the stick.
that's so cool though. That's great. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think a lot of people, including you, are going to break out from this. I think this is really going to be a critically acclaimed movie and also a, popular with audiences, which is the combo that everybody wants.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so it's a coming of age story,
Mhm.
loosely based, I heard, on maybe real events that happened to the author, loosely based, or at least where she grew up.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and it takes place in North Carolina, but you guys actually got to film in New Orleans. So what was the filming experience like?
Filming in New Orleans, like, if I don't know what it would have looked like exactly if we filmed in North Carolina, but how I imagined it to be, New Orleans was exactly it. Like when I
Wow.
read the book with the weeping willows and the Spanish moss, like it's all over New Orleans. And then it just the marsh as a whole is its own character in a sense. And so you can't film it in a sound stage somewhere. You need to be on location, and they picked the perfect spot. It was hot and humid, and there's like creatures running around everywhere. There was a couple of times where some gators would like cruise past you while you're in the water filming a scene.
Oh my God.
And they look like logs. They look like just floating logs with eyes just slowly going by. And you're like, oh my God, that could totally eat me right now if I wanted to.
Right. You're like, is this part of the movie or is this real life?
No, you're hanging out like in estuaries and swamplands and marshes. You're like out there deep in it.
Wow.
And then also hurricane season towards the end of filming, because we were there for about 4 months.
Wow.
Had these crazy thunderstorms where our sets would get flooded and like lifted off their foundation, and they'd have to rebuild and like recreate, Kai's backyard and her like garden. And we were fighting the elements for sure, but it made the movie so special. It really feels like you're in it.
That's so cool. Yeah. 4 months is a long time. People don't realize that it takes 4 months to make a 2-hour movie,
It's crazy. Yeah, exactly.
Crazy. But it's like you kind of get to go away to camp for a little bit, like summer camp, and live.
It's adult summer camp where you get to pretend to be a kid. I think.
Yeah. It's so funny because it's such heavy material that it's going to be funny watching it, thinking that you guys were laughing so much you had to be separated,
Yes.
That's so funny.
But you need that. Sometimes you need that with a very like heavy material. For example, in Sharp Objects, like Amy's also very, very funny. She snuck a fart machine during we had like a sex scene at the episode 7 or 8, and she snuck a fart machine into the room. And she was just pressing it every once in a while, making Jean-Marc Vallée freak out. Rest in peace.
Yes.
You need like humor to dampen the darkness of it all sometimes, because it is.
She was trying to lighten the mood.
Exactly. With the fart machine. So unexpected, actually, from Amy Adams.
Yeah. From 6-time Oscar nominee Amy Adams. That's her preparation for serious scenes.
An actor prepares.
Yeah, exactly. That's cool. So over the 4 months, were there things like takeaways, from the material or the project or the other actors? Like, what did you take away from those 4 months?
Obviously, like, this is a very, it's a female driven film.
Yeah.
And everybody, pretty much from director Livy Newman, Polly Morgan, our DP, Lucy Alibar, screenwriter, Lauren Levy-Newstadter, Elizabeth Gabler, Aaron Siminoff, Rhonda Fair. I felt so honored to be a part of like these amazing badass women that were creating this story. And it kind of hit me that no one else could have done this, And
I love that.
Reese Witherspoon championing it all. I'm like, it felt like I was, like I would have signed up just in general to do it for free, because it's one of those special moments. All these brilliant brains are getting together and finding a way to tell the story in the most perfect way possible. And you're just on the sideline, like, put me in whenever you need me, but you guys are crushing it. Like, let me know what you need, but this is just cool to be a part of.
That's so cool.
And I got to see the film. It turned out beautifully. It was the first time I'd seen something that I was in where I wasn't judging myself and like nitpicking my choices. I watched it the first time I saw it as an audience member. And that was a first for me.
Wow.
And I just kept thinking, like, thank God I'm in this movie. Seriously. Wow. Thank God I'm in this movie.
I love that. That's so cool. And I think, you chose the very profession when you say you would have done it for free, that it's not about the money. It's about the work and the experience and the material. That's so cool. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you, brother. Yeah.
I was so psyched when you got the role too, because I knew about the book, and I was like, really? Yes, because I just feel like it's always just been a matter of time. And the time I knew you, it was going to be like a project like this was going to put you over the top, So it was just we were just waiting it out, and this was the one.
Thank you, Brett.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. So let's also talk about the soundtrack for the movie. So this was a big deal in the last few weeks because the song over the end credits is an original song, like you said, by Taylor Swift. It's called Carolina. And what's so cool is she wanted to write it for the movie. They didn't ask her to write a song for the movie. Yeah,
she, I guess, wrote, going back to handwritten letters, she wrote like a whole page letter to Livy and to Reese and everyone involved in the project saying, I read the book struck a huge chord in me. I wrote a song for it. I hope it's okay. I hope you like it. And then like sent the song over. And you hear it starts playing at the very end of the film, like So the last scene, there's this big reveal, right?
Okay.
And you're like, oh my God. And then it fade to black and the song plays and you're like, what? It is the perfect ending to this movie. And it just encapsulates the whole feel of it, like the hauntingness and the, it's very like brooding.
Yeah.
But it just captures like the whole essence of that final moment and the movie as a whole perfectly. And she used instruments that were from like 1953 and before. So they were like period correct.
Wow.
And she did it all in one take, like how they would record a song back then. So what you hear on the song Carolina she just released is like one whole take all the way through with all the instruments and all. It's like listening to it live. Very cool.
That's so cool. And that's so cool for a director to have someone of Taylor Swift's caliber reach out and say, I want to do a song for your movie. Come on.
Yeah, that's right.
So cool. And she's a fan of the material. You just mentioned that it's a period piece, so it takes place in the 1960s. Did you like transporting back in time for that with the costumes and everything? How was that?
For sure. Like, also like the boats and the cars, like you forget how much has changed over time. The way a lunchbox looks like, or, you know, paint colors were different. And, and also like, you know, part of this as well, there's a few moments sprinkled throughout, but it takes place in the Jim Crow era South. And there's a lot of connections between how people in the town look at Kaya as like this, you know, outsider and almost less than human. And then the connection with Jim Crow laws back then. So Mabel and Jumpin are these two amazing characters. They're shop owner in the town, are the only people funny enough to show Kaya any love from the town, the two African-American people in that. And it's like these great, you know, it really like, it really helps you like look inward back to that time and see how people lived and how people thought and how small-minded they were when it came to things they didn't understand or people that didn't look like them. And they tackle that subject really beautifully in here, I think.
Oh, wow. That's important for people to see, for sure.
Yeah.
What else did it require to go back to the 60s? Was there any kind of dialect or any kind of hairstyle? Or what kind of things did you have to do?
We had for probably about a month before filming, we had a dialect coach teaching us this very specific. At first, it started out as like this kind of general Southern dialect, and it was very thick. And then it went to another iteration of that, which was like a little bit, you know, less general. And then a third time, it changed to like something a little bit more specific. And the fourth time that they're like, okay, guys, this is it. This is the dialect that we're going to do. We're like, okay, sure. It was this Pilot Mountain region of North Carolina. So like to a town.
Right.
There was a recording we had of a guy doing an interview. And it was used as our like benchmark. Like, this is how we're going to sound. This is how everyone's going to sound. So specific.
Wow.
I was very impressed how they like came to that conclusion, but it works perfectly in the film because you don't want it too broad where you don't know where they are, and you don't want it too thick where it loses or alienates some people. They wanted something that was like just down the middle, and it was the Pilot Mountain region dialect.
That's so cool. They literally pinpointed it.
Pinpointed it to
a town. That's like Kate Winslet with Mare of Easttown. Like, they have a very unique accent in that. And that won a lot of awards, so that's a good sign. Have you had a chance to see it with an audience, or you guys saw it at a screening with like just at
Sony with you know, with like our crew of filmmakers? But it wasn't even it was like the rough version, I guess you could say, because there was still a few like CGI things that weren't in. The other there was a couple other things that like weren't done, but it was pretty much close to how it would look in the film. When it comes out in theaters, and it was just, I didn't notice anything wrong. And I was like, you guys did a pretty great job. If this is like the rough cut. And, you know,
that's going to be so cool though. The first time you get to see it with a packed theater, there's going to be, is that the premiere?
July 11th is the premiere in New York City. And then the film comes out July 15th everywhere else.
So cool.
Yeah.
That's going to be very exciting. Have you met Taylor Swift yet or not yet?
No, I hopefully she'll come to the premiere. It's in New York. I think she lives out there, but I'd love to meet her there and thank her for the song. Yeah,
I heard that she would like an Oscar nomination for the song. It would be her first for a song from
No way.
That would be cool. Yeah, and
that would be rad.
Yeah, if a song's written directly for a movie and not on any of her other albums, it can be eligible for for best original song. So that puts this one in that
By the
category.
way, this might be the one then. I didn't know. That's
That
awesome.
that would be cool. Yeah, there's actually a lot of Oscar buzz. You know, the movie itself, the actors. That would be cool. I know it's only July,
Yeah.
but that would be. You might have a big year ahead of you. Like
Let me
riding.
make it through press first.
Yeah, exactly. Get through press first, and then you can think about it. But you might have a big year, like riding the wave of where the
Yeah,
crawdads sing.
let's
That's
hope so. I
that's
think
gonna
that'd
be
be
cool.
a good way to end out the year.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you mentioned the studio behind the movie is Sony. The movie's
Mhm.
coming out exclusively in movie theaters on July 15th. And the reason that's a
Exactly.
big deal is that we've just come off 2 years and 4 months of the, movie industry being kind of in flux. Movies come out in theaters, but also on streaming services the same day. And it's kind of,
Mhm.
it's kind of
It's confusing a little bit.
confused people. Yeah. Because they're like, wait, do I want to see this in the theater? Or in 2 weeks, can I watch it at home? Like, what's
Mhm.
happening? But so they're making a big point to say this is exclusively in theaters, and if you love the book and you want to see the movie, you've got to go to the theater. So how do you feel about that they have such confidence that it's only in theaters?
All the best movies I remember seeing, I always watched in the theater, and
Yeah,
this is the movie itself is so vast and beautiful. The landscape, the music. I mean, Polly Morgan is this phenomenal DP. You need to just get sucked to the giant screen for like 2 hours. You can't go watch it on your phone or at home. I'm excited for people to go see this with groups of friends
yeah,
as well, because I know like the book clubs especially, like people are so invested in this film, and to get to go see it all together with your friends and with other groups of random people, I think it's how it's supposed to be experienced, like
yeah,
true movies. And it's got so many other aspects of it that I think people that know nothing about the book are going to love. It's a perfect date night movie.
yeah,
It's got these murder mystery aspects to it, the coming of age drama, the who done it, and then it's this beautiful romance story all the way throughout the film. And so I think it's going to bring in a lot of people that don't really know too much about the book or the story. And also it's such a loyal adaptation to the book. The people that do love Where the Crawdads Sings are going to be very, very happy with how it
yeah.
turned out.
I love that. And the thing too with book clubs and fans of the book is that they've had, Kaya and Tate in their minds, like they created who they were. So now they see the movie and it's you, you get to
Yeah,
fulfill the, image of what maybe people have been imagining for the last few years.
it's so crazy seeing like on Twitter and stuff, people like doing I mean, early on, I was typing in like Where the Crawdads Sing, and people had their dream cast as like different people. And I'm like, oh my God, people love this so much. And they know they're going to make a movie that they're creating their own cast list. I'm like,
Yeah.
what did I get myself into?
No, but it's an
I
honor.
really,
You get to do
it's
the job.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just hope everyone's happy, and I think they will be. Everyone worked really, really hard on this, and I hope they like looking at my face on there.
Yeah. They
I hope
better.
I made their dream
Of course.
cast board.
They will. Yeah, you're going to be forever associated with the character Tate. And I think that's too why it attracted such a great cast, all in all the roles, because it is a beloved book, and that always helps when making a movie, that it comes from a source material that people just love and respect.
Mhm.
And so that's why you guys attracted the people that you attracted, that you got to work with. Do you have a favorite memory or favorite scene or something when we go watch the movie that we could be like, that's Taylor's favorite day on set?
There was there's one of like the big scenes after I come back from college. I basically go back to apologize to Kaya for all these things that happen, and the camera's on her the first time through. She's getting like her coverage done, and it's this big long scene. It's probably like 5 pages, very like emotionally intense, and she crushes it, right? Nails it. And it's maybe 12:30 at night. And now we're turning around onto Taylor, right? Turning around onto me. And I'm like, oh, this is great. Right? We've been basically rehearsing this over and over, getting her coverage. I hop back on my boat and I drive out maybe a quarter of a mile for my starting point, so they can get me, driving the boat into the dock, locking up the dock, hopping out of the boat. And then that's when the scene starts, but it's all captured. As I'm going back out to my start point, I hear on the radio, all right, Taylor, rolling. And I turn the boat around and I completely blank on everything that I'm supposed to say.
Wow.
I forget what happens in the scene. I had just done it for the last 2 hours,
Right.
3 hours, and crushed it. And it was great. but now I'm at this point where I felt like I was starting to have a panic attack. And I haven't told this story before, but I got so nervous. I'm like, why can I just did it all these times. Why can't I remember a single word? And I had one of those moments of like, feel the fear and do it anyway. And I remember hearing, rolling action and just having to crank the boat. And I didn't know, like, seriously, I was driving this boat up. Like, I don't know what I'm going to say when I get up there. I don't know what to do. I finally hit the dock and tie the boat up, and I hop out. And as soon as my feet hit the dock, it all like just came back to me. And I was like, thank God.
Wow.
Because I'd never been more fearful in my life, Brett. But it was one of those things you just got to go.
Wow.
Yeah. It was terrifying, but also my favorite scene, I think, of the movie.
Wow, that's really cool. I wonder if maybe because you were focused on the boat and driving the boat that you kind of everything else went out the window.
I mean, maybe, but I also was one of those like brain fart moments where you're like, I've just been doing this for so long. And then all of a sudden, oh my God, it's my turn. Like cameras on me now. And I'm like, nothing. Mine just went blank. It was terrifying. But again, one of those times you just got to feel the fear and do it anyway.
And it came back.
It came back and ended up being amazing. But I was so terrified.
I can't wait to see it. So how are you feeling now that, July 15th is around the corner? How do you feel that, this movie that you worked on, put your heart and soul into is going to be shared with the world? Because once it's out to the world, it's theirs,
Yeah. I mean, I'm so happy that it's finally to that point, but I wish I had more time, to really like soak it all in and enjoy it. I feel like July came so quickly. Mm-hmm. That being said, we did finish filming a year ago, but it just, everything's gone so quickly because they want to get this movie out to the audiences and the people that care about the book. But it does feel like it's going so quickly. That being said, I cannot wait. I cannot wait for it to come out because everyone's been asking me about it. Like, when do I get to see it? When's it coming out? And finally we have like a solid date. We know when it's going to be out in theaters, and I could just let the movie speak for itself. It is nerve wracking though. It's like, I don't know. It's like a big birthday or a wedding coming up, and you're like counting down the days.
Well, any kind of movie or TV show, like we said, is like adult summer camp, and so it's your own thing for a little while that you share with just the people involved. Then once it's out to the world, they kind of take ownership.
They decide. Yeah, exactly.
They decide if it's a hit. They decide if they like it. They decide if it becomes this thing people watch every year. It's interesting that movies become classics over time, and it's all up to the audience after that. You've done your job.
That is a plus. Yeah, that is a plus. Is that like once, my mom always tells me like, clock out. Once you're done, like your job is done. You can't, you're not in the editing room. You're not, doing publicity for it. I mean, you are, but you're not like deciding what goes out. And you really just do the best you can. And then when the job is done, the job is done. And if it is beloved by people and accepted by people, amazing. If that's not the case, then like you move on to the next one. You're not in charge of the outcome. You just do your work and give it up.
What's so cool about this too is I think as, over generations, people are going to discover the book. And so the new generation that discovers the book will also watch the movie, so it's going to have a long life.
What's crazy? My best friend, Ian, his little sister, I think, told me that it was required reading for them in school, in high school.
Wow.
I didn't even know that. It was like, we had this book, and I'm like, what happened to the classics? But I guess this is like the new, required reading. I was like, oh my God. I mean, how many other schools do that? And so how many other people know about the book?
Exactly. That's really cool. Right. So all those high school kids who learn about the book over time are then going to discover the movie.
Be able to go see the movie. Yeah.
So cool. It'll be around for a while. This is the beginning of a long journey for you. So you and Daisy and Reese have been doing a lot of press for the movie. You're about to do a lot more. You guys did a TikTok live interview. Like you said, it was seen by millions. If you look, it's got like millions of views.
Oh, no way.
Has this publicity process been surreal for you? Like just, you look over and there's Reese.
It's always crazy when you look over and you're like having a cup. You're like, oh my God, you're Reese Witherspoon. That's right. But it's actually been really fun. I was pleasantly surprised. It's, fast paced and there's a lot going on, and you're, 15 minutes here and then you're doing a phone call interview on the way to the next room, and then it's another 15. That's that for like a couple days. But
Yeah.
I'm actually really surprised how much I'm liking it. All the interviewers have been awesome. I have the best crew of people to do it with, Daisy and Reese. And it's fun. I didn't think it would be this fun, but I'm actually really enjoying it.
Well, I think when you're proud of a project, it makes it more fun.
That helps for sure.
Yeah, you can
for sure.
You can just
imagine
tell the truth.
I can imagine what it would be like oh God, that's so scary to think about, because people have to do that. They have to promote projects they're not stoked on.
Yeah.
God, this is a blessing then for sure, because I absolutely love this film.
Yeah, and you can tell.
I guess it does make it a lot easier.
Yeah, well, you can tell, you can feel it, just even in your posts on Instagram, that you're really proud of this. And I think that's why it's so exciting, because it's coming from an authentic place, And so we'll see. We're going to see what happens. I can't wait to see it. Maybe
I'm stoked for you to see it too.
Maybe I'll get myself to New York for the premiere if I'm on the East Coast.
Let's go.
But or I'll see it in theaters. So I mentioned Oscar buzz. What is that like when you hear things like that? Because I know, Sharp Objects had huge, Emmy nominations. For you, are awards kind of just like the icing on the cake? Is that are you thinking about it at all while you're filming it, or that just comes later?
Not even thinking about, honestly, not even thinking about it now. It's again, one of those things that like, it's out of my control. You do the job, you do the best you can. You got to move on to the next project. If it happens, phenomenal, awesome. But it's not because of any new work that could have been done.
Right.
It's just, again, icing on the cake, like you said. And it's also, you don't want to get caught up in the what ifs and the what could be and the counting the chickens before they hatch type thing. So I just steer clear of that and focus on what I can do, which is like press and enjoying the countdown.
Yeah.
And just being present.
Yeah. Be present. Enjoy the ride. It's going to go fast. Before
everyone keeps telling me that. I genuinely try to like take a breath every once in a while, like in between interviews or when I'm on a plane going somewhere, I'm like, this is it. This is what you like always wanted to happen. Like enjoy it, soak it in. Yeah.
Right. Well, I'll start the campaign right now. Best Supporting Actor, Taylor John Smith. Next year's Oscars. Why not? Someone's got to start it.
Come on, why not? There you go.
So here is where it's going to become like Inside the Actor Studio, Taylor John Smith edition, where we go back and talk about how you broke into the business that got you to where the CRAWDADS sing in the first place. So tell everybody where you are originally from.
From Virginia. On the East Coast. Yeah. Fredericksburg, Virginia, grew up there. And my mom brought me and my three siblings out to California when I was about 13, 14.
Yeah. So how did that change your life, moving to California?
Changed everything. I never planned on being an actor or didn't even think that was like a job as a kid. But if I wasn't in California, I don't think I would have been in the vicinity of all that was happening and seen that as an opportunity.
Yeah. So what was your earliest memory of being like, wait a minute, I can be an actor when I grow up?
It's funny. My little sister got approached by a casting director at a mall in Ventura.
Oh, nice.
And she was like, I love your look. I think you should come check out this acting school. And I ended up going in her place. There's like a 2-year age difference. She was 15. I think I was 17. I ended up going in her place to the class and like fell in love with it. And so ended up going back my senior year of high school, like every Tuesday and Thursday. And at the end of it, you got to do a showcase. And I remember after that showcase, I got like a couple of different meetings with different agents and managers and just rolled with it. Wow. Still going to community college. I was working 2 jobs, going to community college, and couldn't really make my auditions due to like scheduling and life. And eventually my mom was like, you're miserable. Like you need to like quit one of your jobs and go do the thing you said you wanted to do. And that very next day, one of my, I think it was like my first audition or second audition for some guest star on a TNT show with Eric McCormick.
Yeah.
And ended up getting it. And I was like, oh my God, they pay you too. Like,
right.
I was like, Mom, best advice ever. Quit one of your jobs and start another.
Yeah.
And that just started a snowball effect where I just kept auditioning and, that early success was, short-lived. And then you get your first 99 no's from different casting directors, producers and whatnot. And then you get that one yes that like keeps you going through the next 99 no's.
Yeah.
That cycle repeats itself until, the no's become fewer and the yeses become more, bountiful. And
Oh, I love that.
yeah.
That's enough. That's one of your motivating speeches, like I was talking about earlier. No, I love
Yeah.
that. It's so true. It
Get used
applies
to the 99.
No, it's true. It applies to actors, but also writers, directors. I can vouch for that for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a lot of no's, and then the yeses are so great when they do come
And they
in.
really do propel you forward because you're like, I remember what that feels like. And, if someone took a chance on me before, they can't be the only person in the world that sees something in me.
Yeah.
And you really do got to hang on to your why of like what you do, because it does get tough. Going back to earlier, what we said, like people are kind of vicious and there's a scarcity mindset. It's with everybody in LA because it is so tough. It's a tough business. And so when you get an opportunity to like lift somebody up.
Yep. Always think there's room for everybody. There's roles for everybody. There's projects for everybody. Everyone will find their spot. But so you've been acting professionally. You're only 27, but you've been acting professionally for 10 years.
Yeah, almost. Yeah.
And so that first credit you said was Perception on TNT with Eric McCormick from Will and Grace.
Yeah.
If people want to find it, it's season 2, episode 4.
Please don't.
Well, but did you, when you were there, were you like, oh my God, this is so cool on that set the first time?
I think it was just such a weird feeling of going like, this is how it works. Like, as a little kid growing up, going to like Blockbuster, I always thought there was people in the back, like shoving the movies into vending machines. You don't think about them actually like a group of people putting it together and filming it. They're just at Blockbuster.
Yeah.
And so getting to see this giant, village of people running around like crazy, making it happen. It was one, I was overwhelmed, but also very impressed. Like everybody had an important job from, the grips to the electricians, the crafty people, the parking attendants. Like if nobody did their job right, everything else falls apart.
Yep.
I was very impressed by like the crazy, controlled chaos of it.
Yeah, I always try to explain it to people as you get the people who are best at their job. So the best of each department. And when you put them all together, it's just magic. Everyone is the best at what they do. And then it's all these pieces of a bigger puzzle and you put it all together and there it is. And it's like when you watch the end credits of a movie and you see all those names, sometimes only the actors and the director and the producers get the glory, but there are a lot of names that it takes to make a movie.
I think it's always super important to sit through it, even though you can't see them all because sometimes it rolls really quickly, but to like take in all the people that worked on a film, especially like, the Avengers Marvel Universe film, you're like thousands of people worked on this.
Yep.
And they're like a little speck on the line that's going like 25 miles an hour down the screen. Like thousands of people it took to make this beautiful film. And you got to give credit where credit is due when you can.
Yeah, I don't leave the theater till the end credits are over. I just watch.
Also for the Easter egg though as well. Like,
oh, that's right. That's true. You don't want to miss a post-credit scene. That's right. So you continue to build your resume a lot in 2014 and 2015. I'm just going to rattle off some of the guest spots you did over those years. Twisted, CSI, Heart of Dixie, Hawaii Five-0, Resident Advisors, Guidance, Chicago PD, and the big one, Grey's Anatomy, which has been on for a long time. So you had a few very busy years right out of the gate, it seems like. That was pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, also when you're auditioning for things, especially starting out, if you get a job, take the job. If you can get an audition, take the audition. It's get as much experience as you can early on. And a lot of that for me was in TV. And TV is cool because it's such a well-oiled machine. You're kind of like a little piece that gets put on the chessboard and you just go and everything's taken care of. They know, the shot list, like what's going to happen in the scene, how it handles with the arc of the rest of that season. And so you're just like a little chess piece they put on the board and put where you're supposed to be. But it's fast moving and it's quick and it really helped you learn, what it must be like on a film set for like a bigger project or where you're going to be on there longer than 2 weeks of filming.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. You can't be too precious, about your jobs that you take in the beginning. You're building a resume, you're getting experience, you're getting exposure.
You're learning. That's your film school for a lot of people. It's like just saying yes to bit parts and doing things that, you're probably not going to look back and be proud of in 10 years, but it's experience. You're on a set, you're finding out how your own instrument works. Like, this worked or this didn't, or, I really got to be better about memorizing the other people's lines in case they flub on something, to know where to catch that moment back up. So the scene can be used later on.
Right.
It's little things you learn from working on these smaller roles.
But even just the confidence of booking all those jobs must have been nice. Like, you were going in for auditions and you were booking them,
Yeah.
You were on the right track.
Yeah. It's another huge thing. You're like, all right, maybe I'm not as shitty as I think I am.
Maybe it's not a fluke. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. Do you have any favorite memories from all those guest spots? Maybe Grey's Anatomy or one of those other
shows? On
shows?
Grey's Anatomy, funny enough, we were filming. I brought my grandparents on set because they always wanted to
cool.
Yeah, my mom's parents, and they came down from Delaware, and they were like so excited. And we were filming at a VA hospital, and this scene where Dr. McDreamy's like, giving this little speech to like our group of people, and I had this crazy stomach pain all day, like really, really intense stomach pain, almost to the point where I couldn't stand up straight. And all of a sudden, I felt like this, like, it was like something shifted in my brain. I felt like this impending sense of doom, and I dropped to the floor, like crumpled in the middle of a take to the floor. And I was like, something very, very, very wrong. I ended up having to go to the hospital. My appendix had burst.
No way.
I couldn't even get taken into the VA hospital because it's, veterans hospital. So I went to like I think a mile and a half by, and I stayed there overnight. They did emergency surgery on me. Like, my appendix straight up burst. While I was filming an episode of
Anatomy. That's
nuts.
Dude,
it was wild. And I think I think I was in there for a night, and then I think they were going to like figure out a way to push the next couple of days of filming or somehow figure it out. And my mom came with me, and my grandfather's a doctor, and he was like, look, they're only going to let you out if you can like go to the bathroom. So if you want to like get to set tomorrow and make it happen, like after your appendix surgery, that's the only way they'll release you. And so I was drinking like prune juice all night and like hot coffee and just trying to get it out of there. And I ended up showing up to set the next day at like 6:30 and finishing it out. And they're like, what the hell are you doing here?
You're like, I'm a professional.
By the way, and crazy apparently, but I was like, I needed to like be back on set.
Wow. That is like the show must go on, as they say.
Seriously. And my grandparents, I didn't want them to be disappointed that they weren't able to like see anything cool, or like, well, my grandson said he was an actor, but we didn't see much of it. We spent the day in the hospital.
Right. That is nuts. I never knew that story. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it worked out because you ended up on Grey's Anatomy, and you obviously survived that incident. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Of all the places,
it was a surreal experience.
Yeah. Of all the shows to be filming, Grey's Anatomy when that happened. Wow. Well, you were in the right place, at least when it happened. I'm glad your grandparents got to see that. What a cool experience for you.
It was very cool for them. Yeah. I also got to bring them to my first premiere ever. They're getting older, and my grandma wanted to be an actress as well when she was, so it's kind of cool to like give them an inside peek at like what it's like, I guess.
So it's in your blood, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah. Thanks,
cool. That's cool. I love that. Okay. So then 2016, we mentioned you shot the Cruel Intentions pilot. What was that like when you booked that role? Because that was like a very highly coveted role to be Reese Witherspoon and Ryan Phillippe's, TV son from a very, popular movie.
I remember the casting directors were so sweet to me. And it was one of the first like interactions I had with casting director where they said, we're not the enemy. We're not, we want to solve this problem. We want to cast this role, as much as you want to fill it. And if you can help us cast this role, that helps our job. That's our job.
Yeah.
And it changed the way I look at casting directors and going into like chemistry reads and screen tests. Cause I always was very nervous thinking like, oh, they're just waiting for me to screw up or, drop a line or not hit a certain moment. But in reality, they want you to come in and crush it.
Of course.
And that was the first time like I heard it from a casting director explain it that way. And I go, oh my God, that's right. You're not, you want me to do well.
Of course.
It took the nerves right out of me from like that point on. and yeah, the audition process was like super easy for that one. And then Roger Campbell obviously is like crazy and amazing, and the original director of the first one. And then Sarah Michelle Gellar got to come and reprise her role, which I thought was super cool.
Do you know I haven't seen the pilot? You need to get me a link.
So it's Sony and NBC had some, I guess disagreements on some stuff, but it never got released. But it's weird because I see like somebody I see a bunch of stills from it. There's a scene where I'm like in the shower, and there's a still from that. I'm like, how did that end up out? Right. The pilot's not out. Yeah.
Right. We need to find a way to find that pilot. I was rooting for that project.
Somebody's got some explaining to do. Yeah. Exactly. Me too. And Lindsay Rosen, Jordan Ross are great as well. And it was such a fun pilot to shoot. We got to go up to San Francisco and Malibu at the Belmont mansion and the state. Yeah. It was just a cool experience all around.
They had Sebastian's car from the movie was in the movie.
I got to drive that in San Francisco. It was so wild. Like,
how cool is that? Wow.
It was definitely like this surreal moment. Like, this is my job.
Yeah. I think they even had Sebastian's diary from the original, like the props.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I love that movie so much. And that would have been an NBC series, but everything happens as it's meant to be. You were meant to definitely at least do that pilot. And it also helps, that kind of role, like you were saying, they're waiting for someone to walk in who just crushes it and also looks the part, because this person had to look like their parents could be Reese Witherspoon and Ryan Phillippe. And you walked in and you do look like you could be their kid. And their real son, Deacon, you guys could play brothers in something.
I've met Deacon. He's a super talented DJ, right?
Yeah, he's a DJ. Yeah. He does music. Yeah, you guys look like resemble each other. So it was great casting on everyone's part. But yeah, that's a project that will always, have a place in your heart for, even if it doesn't get picked up, it doesn't matter. But what's interesting is when you're waiting for a show to get picked up, they kind of have a holding deal with you that you can't really do other stuff. So I remember I was seeing you a lot in 2016 because you were waiting to see, is it going to be...
I was waiting, yeah.
It was going to be a summer show maybe at one point, and you were just kind of...
Because if it goes, they don't want you on another project or a show. It's, conflicting schedules and non-competes. And so you're kind of like, I don't know what's happening, but nothing's happening right now.
Exactly.
And then doesn't come out and you're like, all right, back to the drawing board.
Exactly. And so in 2016, you also got to do another show, critically acclaimed, called American Crime. That's an anthology series where there was a new case every season. You were in season 2. You played a character named Luke. The series starred Oscar winner Regina King and Felicity Huffman. Regina actually won 2 Emmys for American Crime for seasons 1 and 2. Wow. And, also in the cast was Timothy Hutton, Lily Taylor, Hope Davis. So talk about American Crime. That must have been cool, because that's another,
one of those big shows that you get to come in on and play like a smaller part. But again, so well oiled. And that show specifically, it was kind of like how TV is now, where it's like really well written and really focused, and you get to, handle these characters through 10 episodes, 8 episodes. That was my first experience on a show where, people were like really, really caring about the arc of the character and why they, what they said and why they said it. It was my first time seeing actors like pull the director aside and be like, well, what do you think about this? Maybe we should have this moment here because, and I was like, you can do that. I thought, I thought it was just, whatever's, you say whatever's on the page, and to an extent that's true, but it was like, it felt more collaborative, and to get to see it in person, I'm like, God, there's so much I haven't learned yet that I don't know is possible or that you're allowed to do, that I got to learn on that show. And we got to film in Austin, Texas, which was super cool. It's my first time there. And Connor, the guy who's like love interest I played, it was the best. He'd been on that season from the beginning. He very welcoming, and it was the first time I played a gay character before, and it was like very all encompassing. But he was just like, he was the best. He was like, let's just go in there, like knock these characters out and make the best of it. I was like, cool, right? Yeah.
That's so cool. And I think that's cool that you got to learn that as an actor, you can chime in with ideas, and it is a collaborative.
Or ask questions.
Yeah, exactly. Because the worst they can say is no, just do it like it says it in the script. But you may as well, maybe your idea is better. And Really, I've been on sets where they'll take an idea from anybody. Any crew member can chime in and be like, "What about this?" And it can be a collaborative process. If it's a good idea, it doesn't matter where it came from, you know?
I love that. Yeah, I agree with that.
You know,
100%.
if it makes the project better or if it helps the actor with their own personal performance, if they, need backstory or something, to understand
Hmm.
their motivation. Why are they doing this, Um, but how was that? Did you get to work with like Regina King? Like, what was that like?
No, mostly with Connor,
Yeah, just was
actually.
funny.
So I mean, sadly, I didn't get to work with Virginia, but hopefully one day.
Yeah.
But I get to see them out and about when they're shooting something. So I was like, oh God, it's so cool. Like to
Yeah.
be around that caliber of actors.
Oh
Like,
yeah. I mean, now she's like an Oscar winner, Emmy winner. I knew her. She was on a multicam sitcom in the '80s called 227. So
no
I've
way.
yeah, so I've known of Regina King since I was a kid, and then she was, in Jerry Maguire, and so
Yeah.
yeah, she's been part of like the pop
Anything is
culture.
possible.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, she's crushing it. It almost people think, right now she's like hitting her stride, but she's been at it a long time. It's not an overnight success by any
Average
means.
overnight success takes like what, 10 years in Hollywood?
At least. Yeah,
At
absolutely.
least.
Oh, so there you are. You're 10 years in. And
Almost, yeah.
you have Where the Crawdads Sing. Perfect timing.
Come
Um,
on.
so yeah, I want to mention also in 2016 you starred in a movie called Wolves, which I thought was an incredible performance by you, like a real kind of like star-making role. If people haven't seen that movie, they should. You play the lead, Anthony Keller. He's a high school basketball player who wants to get into Cornell, but he's got this abusive father with a gambling addiction, and the father is played by Michael Shannon, who's one of the greatest actors of our time. Carla Gugino plays your mom. What was that like? You had to learn a lot from Michael Shannon, I'm sure.
Like if there's ever like a perfect starting point for being a movie star, whatever you want to call it, that was it. To have Michael Shannon as your dad throughout the entire experience, he's so subtle and strong in every choice he makes on scene that
Mm,
I couldn't help go up to him like in between takes and like ask him questions. But I also didn't know that he was kind of more of like a method actor guy, and
mm,
his character is very, demeaning and abrasive to my character. This weird, father son dynamic.
mm,
And so for the longest time, I think for like 2 months, I really thought he hated me. I
mm,
really thought he hated me. And it wasn't until the last scene of the last day we had wrapped, he like ran over to me and gave me a big bear hug. And like I lost it because I no one explained to me that like some people are method and some people like stay in that space. And
wow.
no one explained to me why Michael Shannon was staring at me outside through a window, chain smoking, and not like I felt so uncomfortable. But I understood it after, and like his
Mm,
performance is incredible because of it, and helped mine as well, helped my performance. But it almost ruins the magic if if he's like, hey, I'm gonna like things are gonna get a little strange, and you're not gonna feel too great, but it's for the benefit of the film.
right.
Um, but he's just the sweetest man in the world. He gave me a bunch of books after and wrote me this really nice letter that I have framed in my room.
Handwritten letter? Is it
Yeah,
handwritten?
of course.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
Um,
I gotta
and he
frame mine. I
still
have to frame my Taylor John Smith handwritten letters. I gotta remember to do that.
is it in crayon? Is there crude
No, no,
stick
no.
drawings on it
No,
as well?
pen. Nicely written in pen. That's so interesting too, because he probably figured if you guys were like chummy between scenes, he wouldn't be able to be so abusive to you in the scenes. Like he didn't want to know you as a friend during the filming because it would have been
Maybe
too difficult to be your
harder for
abusive
him.
dad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Bart Freundlich too, our director,
Yes.
was incredible. He took such a risk on me because I lied and said I knew how to play basketball
You
during the
have to do
audition
that.
process.
Yeah.
Lie, and then
Yep.
quickly go figure out how to do whatever it is you
Special
want
skills. Yeah. Your special skills at the
done.
bottom of your resume.
I
Wow.
remember after the third or fourth director session with him, he's like, "All right, Taylor, like cut the shit." He's like, "You can't play basketball, can you?" And I was like, "No, I'm sorry." And he's like, "Acting is not the problem here." We basically spent another month. He flew me out to New York and set me up with 3 or 4 different trainers, and I for 5 days a week for like a month.
Wow.
I train like all day with shooting coaches, with trainer, with like learning basketball lingo like for a month. And he was like, at the end of the month, if the trainers if you like pass a couple of these tests and the trainers say you're good to go, like you got the part. And so for a month, I just spent myself trying to make it happen and learn. And ended up working out. So thank you, Bart Freundlich, for taking a chance on me.
Wow, that's cool. I mean, literally you gave it your all because you knew the job was on the line. That's interesting. Wow, that's a lot of work. And it's a great movie that people should look up, called Wolves, with Taylor and Michael Shannon. Also in the cast, Zazie Beetz is in the cast.
Zazie, yeah, dude.
She's blown up. I know, since that movie.
So incredible.
I know. And Jessica Roth. Jessica Roth's in the movie. She also with Happy Death Day and La La Land. Like, it's really cool. Like, everyone has gone on to have great careers from that movie. But like you said, very intense, scenes between you and Michael Shannon. But I remember watching that being like this about you, being like, this guy is the real deal. Like, you can just tell watching that movie. You had to access all these emotions and make it feel real. And I was like, everybody's right. Everybody who's telling me about this up and coming actor, they're right.
Do I have to Venmo you after this, Brett?
No,
for all the kind words.
This is all true. This is all sincere. But then the next year, you did a movie that was very popular on Netflix. That I feel like this kind of put you into the pop culture, world. In 2017, you did a movie called You Get Me, which was like a fatal attraction for teens. And the love triangle was you, Bella Thorne, and Halston Sage. Three big stars, produced, like I said, by my friend Nikki Cortese. What was it like filming that one? It must have been fun.
Super, super fun. It was one of those movies where everyone's your age in it. And so the cast you get to hang out, it's like your friends, people you would normally hang out with. And it was just such a fun experience. And Bella is phenomenal. Bella's like so talented at so many different things, and very, very welcoming. We actually worked on an episode of CSI. That episode of CSI I did was with Bella.
No way.
However many years before we did the film together.
Wow.
And so we had known of each other since then, and then getting to actually go work on a film together. We're the leads in it with Houston was full circle. I was like, God, this is cool. It's such a small world.
I love full circle moments. Those are the best. What was that like to kind of be the object of, affection for two girls fighting over you in a movie? Was that overwhelming in the Fatal Attraction kind of plot?
Not overwhelming, I guess, because I kind of put myself in these predicaments like my character does.
Yeah, exactly.
But then it gets to a point where it gets too out of control to where it's no longer me deciding I want these things.
Right.
But yeah, Bella is like so good at what she does that she can terrify you in a scene. You're like, oh my God.
Right.
Like cut. It's too good.
Right.
It's too good. But it was just a rad experience. I got to film in Malibu as well for that. And like my drive from, Thousand Oaks to Malibu, I'm like, this is my commute. Like, what is my life? This is crazy.
So nice. Yeah. The houses in that movie are so nice. I remember loving the houses. But that was a big hit for Netflix that, catapulted everyone involved. And then in 2018, you started on an HBO limited series that we've mentioned, Sharp Objects. And like Where the Crawdads Sing, it was based on a very popular book. It was actually the first book written by Gillian Flynn, who wrote Gone Girl.
Yeah.
And Sharp Objects, the limited series, starred Amy Adams, who we mentioned, directed by Jean-Marc Vallée, who sadly passed away. He directed Dallas Buyers Club, which won Oscars for Matthew McConaughey and Jared Leto. He directed Reese Witherspoon's movie Wild that she was nominated for. He directed Big Little Lies, which won a ton of Emmys. He's a frequent collaborator of Reese's. So it all sort of keeps coming back to Reese Witherspoon,
Thanks, Reese.
Yeah, thanks, Reese. But Sharp Objects was major for you. That's another one where I remember, the deadline announcement just being like, yes, like you just kept one after another booking these incredible projects. Was that another audition? What was that? How did that come about?
Yeah, it was one of those things where I'd gone in and I'd heard about it. I just signed it at CAA, I think. Maybe I'd already been there for a little while, but I'd heard about it through my TV agent at the time, Raj, and he was like, this great part, this great book, but I can't get you in. And I was like, can't get, like, it was so strange. And he was like, yeah, they're only seeing like 5 people for it. And I was like, damn, like, there's got to be a way to like get in there. I need to read for this. Like I read the breakdown of the character. I was like, I need to go. And Joey Stanton, my agent at the time at CAA, now my manager,
Yep.
somehow worked his magic and got me into the room. And I remember walking in and I'm the only person wearing like a blue denim shirt. Everyone else is wearing all black and like skinny jeans.
Right.
And I go in and David Rubin, who's this incredible casting director, kind of like takes a look at me and he goes, it's going to be okay. Cause I'm looking at all the people outside, these huge, huge actors, like all, very like goth and emo. And I'm like, oh shoot, I came in as like me again, but I ended up reading for it and like really connected with the material. And then Dave Rubin brought me back in the following week to read for Jean-Marc Vallée.
Wow.
And I remember going into to read, and at the end of it, I just like given it my own. Jean-Marc Vallée was like, "Can we shave your head?" And I was like, "You can do whatever you want." Like, and he's like, "Okay." I was like, "I'll go take a Bic to it right now. I'll go shave it off at home." And then
Wow.
it ended up, ended up getting the call, and like that changed my life. That was like one of those, oh my God, incredible moments where you're just so grateful that that you took a risk and then it worked out, and then now you got to go do the work. Now you got to,
Yep.
go put in all the effort.
Yeah, the lesson is say yes. Can you play basketball? Yes. Will you shave your head? Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Say yes.
Say
Worry
yes
about it
until you
later.
can't anymore. Exactly.
That's so interesting. So I love that Joey got you that audition when they were only seeing 5 people. We have to call that the Stanton effect.
The Stanton effect. Well done, Joseph.
He will get you
well
in. I love that.
Yeah.
Where were you when you got that call? Do you remember?
I was actually at Joey's house with my friend Ian at the time. And he said to come over because heard some news, and then I got like everybody on my team hopped on a call and he's like, answer the phone. And I started jumping up and down. Yeah. And like, I still picture like that moment is like one of the happiest moments that I can remember, where you're just like arms raised in the air, just ecstatic. You're like, we did it.
It's so funny. That's exactly how it happens. You get the text or you get the call and you're like, yes. You react that way.
And they don't come often. So you gotta celebrate.
Exactly.
Celebrate the wins.
Sharp Objects was huge for you. It was Amy Adams, Patricia Clarkson, Chris Messina, Elizabeth Perkins, Eliza Scanlon from Little Women, Jackson Hurst, who's actually a friend of mine. He married Stacy, who I went to Syracuse with. Yeah. And
Matt Craven as well.
Oh yeah, it was such a good cast. Again, HBO limited series. You don't get better than that. Right off, Big Little Lies, Jean-Marc Vallée did Sharp Objects. Big critically acclaimed hit, big ratings hit. I actually started to notice that you would get recognized from that. That was sort of when it started. I remember we were at Harriet's one night and people were asking to take pictures with you from Sharp Objects. Like that was kind of the shift where you would get recognized when we go out, which I think is cool. It was nominated for 8 Emmys: Best Limited Series, Best Actress Amy Adams, Best Supporting Actress Patricia Clarkson. What was that like when you were like, wow, this project I did is an Emmy-nominated series?
We just look at the people you get to work with and you're like, of course, like all these incredible tastemakers coming together and working on a project.
Yeah.
Like it's a no-brainer, but again, so not my scope of responsibilities. I'm just like, I'm happy to cheer the whole thing on, but it has nothing to do with whatever I added onto it. I don't think. It's like Jean-Marc Vallée and Amy Adams and Patricia Clarkson are like just so brilliant in it, and the material is so good that I think it was impossible not to ignore for them.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite memory from Sharp Objects when you think of it?
Oof. Funny enough, Matt Craven, who plays the sheriff of the town, he became a really, really good friend of mine, confidant, kind of like a male role model.
Nice.
And we would go on these like nature walks, and he was teaching me about photography. And so we just go, down the green belt and just go on like a photo walk and just take photos of things. And he teach me how to like the aperture work and exposure. And he teach me about like classic films and just the moments when we weren't filming, because it's a very heavy material, very dark material. Getting to go have those experiences offset were awesome for me. It felt like I had a new friend out there.
That's cool. Yeah, that's the best when you can make friends for life. off of a project that's only
Yeah.
a short amount of time. Okay, also in 2018, you starred in a movie called Hunter Killer with Jerry Butler, Oscar winner Gary Oldman, Common, also an Oscar winner for music. I remember when you left the country to go make that. What was that like working with, people like Gary Oldman and Jerry Butler? Was it surreal for you?
It was crazy. It's because I like grew up watching Gerard Butler's, films, and
Of
obviously
course.
Gary Oldman, and then getting to go to London. I'd never been to London before, and I'm like, I'm going out here to film a movie. It was very like eye opening
I
that
love that.
not only can you do this as a job, as a career, but it'll take you places that you've never gotten to go before.
Mm,
Um, we were filming in this like sound stage where they recreated the inside of a submarine, and
right.
Gerard Butler, Jerry is our like captain of the submarine. And so we're in that thing for 10, 12 hours a day. And it's, it's, you get a little stir crazy. And it's
Yeah.
funny because everybody there pretty much was like Brits. They're all Brits. And so in between, we'd be walking down the stairs at like lunch or like to air out the tank, because it's a bunch of guys and in this metal can. And by the time we got down the stairs, they had all like done those little rolly cigarettes, like the little, like they didn't even have to look at them.
Right.
They would just be like chatting. And I remember trying to see if I could roll one. It took me like 13 or 14 minutes, and it wasn't even like good. I tried to give it back to the guy I rolled it for, and he was like, he threw it on the ground.
He was like, I
I'm
don't
like,
want this.
the Brits are just different animals, man. They're and super fun, very, very funny. But it was cool. It was like, it felt like a little guy's summer camp for a while in London. Getting to work with Jerry was rad. He took me to my first play as well, which I
No
thought was
way.
cool.
What
Yeah,
play?
I forget what I saw. You're gonna beat me up when you hear this. I might have nodded off. it
That's okay. Listen, it was your
was
first time.
yeah, it was like 4 hours. I think it was towards the end, and it just been a long week of filming. But yeah, I was very grateful that he took me to my first play.
Yeah, they've got great theater there. They've got like their own Broadway on the West End. I did a semester of college in London, and we got to
Oh,
see
really?
so many shows. Yeah, got to see them all. It was awesome.
I
But
was just actually out in London recently for a wedding, and
right.
Amy Adams is doing the Glass Menagerie, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Did you go see
Um,
it? Oh, you should go back
I,
and see it if you
I
can.
wasn't able to go, so it was on the day of the
Oh, the
wedding,
same
but
day as the
yeah,
wedding.
I might have to go back and check it out. I heard she's
Yeah.
amazing in it.
Well, I love that that this job is taking you all over the world. You're getting to see all these places you've wanted to see and just haven't gotten to yet, and you get
Yeah.
paid for it. How cool is
It's
that?
crazy. I
And it's
mean, when
like,
are people gonna, when's the gig gonna be up? When are
I
they gonna
know.
start realizing?
You get like these all expense paid trips to
It's
amazing
crazy.
locations. It's great. Follow your heart, do what you love. That can happen.
Yeah.
So the next movie, 2020, we're almost back to today, is The Outpost, which was a big hit. Directed by Rod Laurie. It's a true story based on a book by Jake Tapper. Had you ever done a true story before where you were playing a real person? No.
No, and especially like this material as well. Like this is a real battle that took place. Real people died. Real
Mhm.
soldiers died. Sadly they lost. I think 8 the day of, and one more due to an overdose that like was dealing with PTSD and whatnot. But when
Yeah.
I found out I was playing a real person, Lieutenant Andrew Bunderman, it changed. It changes everything, because you're not making the film anymore for yourself or the audiences. You're hearing and talking to all these gold star families of the actual kids that went to war for this country and died, and it becomes this much bigger uh, battle that you're fighting with yourself to make it the best film as possible. And then,
Yeah.
crazy enough, Rod Lurie, his son Hunter, died right before we started filming,
Wow.
and it was just like this very out of nowhere and tragic thing. And everyone was like, Rod, we can do this movie another time, or like, you need to go. And to his credit, he was like, now I know what these families feel like. Now I know how to go make this movie. I know what loss feels like, to lose a
Wow.
kid. And
Wow.
he just sent it, and we all went to Bulgaria and we made the movie. And there was a couple people that were actually at the outpost that was attacked in Afghanistan that were playing themselves. So
Wow.
yeah, not only is like Orlando Bloom in it, and Scott Eastwood, and and all these incredible actors. But there's Daniel Rodriguez who played himself, and there's the Jack Callan medic, like people actually still alive that survived, coming back and having to re-experience all these crazy emotions and the PTSD and getting to tell their story from their point of view it was incredible. Probably one of my favorite experiences as far as filmmaking goes.
Yeah, and the movie was very well received, like critically acclaimed. Like you said, it's you, Orlando Bloom, Scott Eastwood, Caleb Landry Jones is in it.
By the way, Caleb Landry Jones, phenomenal.
Amazing. Yeah, in everything he does.
Yeah.
My friends Jeffrey Greenstein and Jonathan Younger produced it.
Yoni.
Yeah, Yoni.
I was just with him the other night.
You were? He gave himself a role in it, which I love.
He did. Yeah.
He acted in it. Like you said, you left the country to go film that. And that movie came out July 3rd, 2020. So almost exactly 2 years ago. And what's so interesting with that is that we were in the height of the pandemic and the quarantine, and so everybody was home and quarantine, and the movie went straight to VOD and iTunes, and it quickly was like the #1 movie in the country for a while. It had this captive audience at home. Everyone was watching it.
We were supposed to go to South by Southwest, and when all of a sudden like Apple dropped out and Microsoft dropped out, all these other streaming services started saying like, well, we don't know if we're going to be able to do it. And then all of a sudden, all of South by was canceled, and we're like, all right, I guess this is, I guess it's just going to go straight to VOD. But it worked out. I just wish more people would have been able to see it, in theaters, because it's
right.
My grandpa told me when he watched Saving Private Ryan in theater, like I guess him or a buddy that he had served with, like had to run out because the gunfire and it was like so like all encompassing that he felt like he was back there. And I feel like it's one of those movies that just to have a minuscule amount of experience, like a tiny part of what these guys went through would have done it a little bit more justice.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Just with the sound and the noise,
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I remember seeing Saving Private Ryan the first time in the theater, and they, Steven Spielberg did those tricks where like, they kind of go deaf, the characters, for a little bit. You can't hear. And then as an audience member, you do too. Like
the ringing,
hearing,
and then it slowly starts to come back.
And I remember experiencing that in the theater and not having seen that before in a movie in a theater. And he tried to put you in those shoes. So for your grandfather who actually served, that has to be really intense to suddenly be back in that place, in your life. Wow. I would have liked to see the Outpost on a big screen, but I did watch it like the day it came out, and I thought everyone did a great job. It's a really important story, another one based on a book, but a nonfiction book. That seemed very well received. Were you proud of how that was received?
Extremely proud. The person I cared most about their response to it was Lieutenant Andrew Bunderman, the guy that was in charge. I played the guy that was in charge of the Outpost when it got attacked, and he was 23 at the time, I believe, when it happened. And getting the 2 thumbs up from him, and that was all I needed to hear. And I was like, okay, my job is done. Like whatever anybody else says, it doesn't matter. Like, if he can point to a movie and say like, that's what I went through, instead of having to explain his story over and over again. Yeah. And he's proud of that movie, then my job is done.
Does that make you want to play real people again? Like in a biopic someday?
It'd be a very, it was, I would for sure do it. I don't know if I'd specifically go out and reach out unless it was a life or a story that I really resonated with, because they're hard to do right. You know, like I'm excited for Elvis because it looks incredible. Like that looks like it's been done very, very right.
Yeah. Baz Luhrmann usually gets it right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But it'd have to be very specific person I had to connect with, I think.
Okay, that's cool. Well, 2 more movies I have to mention. 2021, Shadow in the Cloud, premiered at the Toronto Film Festival, won the People's Choice Award, came out January 2021, starred you, Chloe Grace Moretz, and Nick Robinson, who's a good friend of mine. I remember you guys both texted me from the set that when you figured out that you both knew me, and I was like, and I wrote back to you like, tell them about the Gursky effect.
That's right.
Yeah, I knew you guys would hit it off. Like you guys are like the same age, you guys equally talented, like great careers. Like he's in Made on Netflix, which is
Loved Made.
he might get nominated for an Emmy for that. So you guys are
Absolutely.
both doing incredibly well. So that movie, Shadow in the Cloud, that's another period piece that actually takes
Hmm.
place in 1943 during World War II. What was
Yeah.
that like to go back to World War II period?
It was super, super, super cool because it's also like it's in that time frame, but it's also this like contained
Supernatural. Yeah.
contained supernatural, like almost like a horror film.
Right.
And one of the cool things I liked about when I did some research is that people got like oxygen deprivation from flying so high, and they did start seeing some weird stuff.
Oh
And so when
wow.
I was reading the script, because they're in a I think it's a B-52 bomber or something flying really high, and I started reading and I was like, maybe it's one of those movies where, is it real? Is it not? And it's
Yeah.
all in your head, or maybe, and then getting to the end of the script, I'm like, oh, this is just a badass, like monster film.
Yeah.
And Chloe's the best. Chloe's super, super talented, and totally carried that movie. And Nick and I, we hit off, like we said, we went to Hobbitown a couple times, and
Oh
like,
really?
yeah, we're in New Zealand, so
Yeah,
I'd
you
never
guys
been there
shot
before.
yeah, shot the movie
Uh,
in New Zealand. Was that your first that was your first time there?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you've seen the whole world. You've gone
Yeah,
everywhere.
Australia after that,
I
I got
know.
just clocking out the map.
Yeah, exactly. The next movie in Australia, Blacklight, it came out February 2022. That's your newest movie before Crawdads. That one starred you, Liam Neeson, Aidan Quinn. I mean, Liam Neeson, what's that
Yeah.
like? That must have been
I so
incredible.
wanted him to adopt me. You know what I mean?
Really?
Just like he had the best stories, and
Oh man.
because he kind of started out like everybody else starts out, where you're just auditioning for whatever he can get his hands on, and he's been
Yeah.
doing it for so long that the people that he was auditioning with are like, you're like, you grew up watching.
Right.
It was really cool to hear his start, and he's just very, very kind and warm, and makes you know that you're not here by accident, that you were like chosen and only you can do this job. And
Yes.
he's like the best motivator, and you're like, can you be my dad? Like, what's it gonna take?
I love that. But you're a motivator
Yeah.
too. That's why you guys hit it off, probably. You have
But
that
it's
in
just cool
common.
but it's just cool to see it from someone you look up to, that you like, you can still be kind and loving and amazing at what you do. And that doesn't have to change when you get older. You don't have to get burnt out
Right.
or resentful, or what have you. You can still be a great person
He actually,
no
Liam
matter what.
Neeson, yeah, Liam Neeson seems like he's having more fun now than ever. Like since the Taken movies, he's had
Yes.
this whole new career almost in these action movies.
Yeah, he's found his like new niche, and he's getting up there too, and he's still kicking my ass during like fight rehearsals. I had to learn like 4 or 5 fights
Incredible.
for this film, and he was like almost carrying himself too well. Like he's faking a limp on the side just so he can
Right.
beat me up when I'm not looking. Yeah.
Exactly. So Liam plays a character named Travis Block. You play a character named Dusty Crane. For people who haven't seen Blacklight, it's a newer movie. How would you describe it? What happens in Blacklight?
It's basically like this like political action thriller. This guy works in a very deep undercover segment of the FBI, and Liam Neeson's character is the guy that they send out to bring in the agents when they've gone way too deep, when they've kind of
Right.
lost themselves in their cover. And so these this political like assassination happens. My character finds out that people inside the government are involved, and I'm trying to get this information out to the public. And Liam's character is sent after me throughout the whole film, trying to bring me in. Because I was in too deep as an agent, and basically finds out that not everything is how he's been perceiving it. And then I don't want to give it away, but like goes and kicks some ass and brings down the bad guys.
So cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome. You've had this very consistent career so far doing big projects with big actors, and Liam Neeson is one of them. So that brings us full circle to where we began with Where the Crawdads Sing 2022, coming out exclusively in theaters on July 15th. I know I can't wait to see it. I can't wait for the world to see it. Can't wait for everybody to know your name. And I hope it just keeps leading to bigger and better things for you. I mean,
Thank you, Brett.
you're on the verge of something very big right now, don't you? Do you feel it?
I feel it. I'm excited, but I'm also not, giving it too much, power. Whatever happens, happens. If it
Yeah.
turns out amazing, great. And if not, on to the next one. But
Right.
I have a feeling it will be pretty great.
I do too. You're a humble guy, so I expect that response from
Yeah,
you. So would you say overall that you are living your dream?
absolutely. Yeah. And more wild than I'd ever expected it to. I got to start dreaming a little bit bigger if the things that put my mind to happen.
Yeah. I heard actually you said in an interview you've been meditating.
Yeah, yeah. Joe Dispenza. I read this book that my mom and I were like reading together and trying to do some meditation. This guy Joe Dispenza basically talks about envisioning the future event that you want to happen in your mind, feeling the emotions that you would feel, as the event's happening to you, and kind of putting it out there into the world. And it's been a game changer. I think it's just like positive mental reinforcement, like creating the image that you want to experience one day, and acting as if it's already happened to you, feeling those emotions. I think it's a lot of like race car drivers and athletes do it. It's like they picture the ball going in the net before they even get out to the court, and just do that repetition over and over again. And I've been doing it for 2 months now, and it's been super helpful.
And Joe Dispenza also, he does 5D, right? That's him. Like it talks about 5D. So
Yes.
I'll tell you a quick story, my meditation story. So like it was like November 2018. A friend was like, "Come with me to a meditation class at Unplug Meditation in LA."
Mm-hmm.
So I went and I was like, "Oh, it's not going to work on me. My brain is always going. I can't shut it off. I can't slow it down." And the teacher, his name's Peter Opperman, and he has a class called Brain Massage. And you put on these headphones that say mind travel on them, and it plays this like it's like the most beautiful movie score playing in your ears while he's on a microphone taking you on like a journey. And I just remember the very first time I did it, it felt like it cracked me open. I felt like my eyes are closed, but I could feel tears going down my eyes.
Yeah.
And I was back in my childhood home, seeing my family when I was that age. I was outside in the backyard playing.
What?
My grandmother was there. My dog now was there. It was like things from all different parts of my life all together at once. And I just remember afterwards telling him, like, I when it's like took the teacher aside and I was like, this is my first time doing a meditation class. I feel like I went on like a journey, and he showed me this Joe Dispenza chart about 5D, and it's like it's like you go to like almost like another dimension. I wasn't awake, but I wasn't asleep. I was in this other world where it was so
it's like the alpha brain waves, or like the from theta to beta.
It was
like
incredible.
You're asleep, but you're not asleep. You're in this like in between phase where it's like lucid dreaming in a sense.
Exactly. I was going to say
awake.
Lucid dream. Exactly. And so after that, I was sold. I went to his class every week, his brain massage class, until the pandemic. So for 2 years, I was going to Unplug Meditation and other classes too,
crazy.
like sound baths. But for people who think like meditation won't work on them, like try a class and you'll be like, wow, it does work on me too.
Yeah.
And what I found with the pandemic, Unplug and all these places closed because they were group classes. So I would either do it over Zoom, like the teachers would do Zoom classes, or I noticed that when I was walking my dog was almost similar to meditation in that I would
meditation.
Oh, interesting. I didn't even
It's called a walking meditation.
Oh, I didn't even know.
All the time.
I just feel it in that when I'm walking my dog, we leave the house and I think I let him pick the direction we're going in, right? Left, straight. I let him sort of take me on the walk, like we walk together, and wherever it goes, and that's when I do my best thinking. I'm almost writing like podcast interviews in my head while I'm walking my dog. Like it's the clearest mind that I have is on these walks. It's interesting.
I just found out right before I left LA. I was doing it for like a week that walking meditation was a thing.
I didn't know.
Before it wasn't even on like, because I just go on walks all the time, and like, I always have like mental clarity and like I connect with like the things going on around me. But then I was like, oh, it's a thing. Oh, of course it's a thing. I'm like reading through all these forums. I'm like,
wow,
great.
I didn't
Why
even
am I
know
learning about it now?
Right, but it really feels like you clear your mind and you can do anything. You come back like energized. And I think it's also that there's no distractions. Part of Unplug was they took your phone when you got there. They put it away. So you're really, we're so distracted.
You're forced to be in it.
You're forced to be in it. Yeah. So, okay. We talked about meditation. We talked about visualizing our future. So before we go, I always like to ask my guests, what advice do you have for someone who dreams of having a career like yours?
I would say get comfortable with the 99 no's. Expect it to come, accept it when it does come, but know that that's not going to last forever. Continue on it, keep pushing, and you're going to get that yes that'll propel you forward. And write down why you start whatever it is you're starting. Write down like why you're doing it, and look back at that piece of paper. Figure out what your why is. Look back at that piece of paper when you're struggling or thinking about giving up, and remember why you started.
That is great advice. I love that. I also think keep a journal. I think writing things down, it's good for the mind. It's good.
Got mine right here.
Oh, really? I have mine too.
I gotta get a new one. It's pretty packed right now.
Yeah, I should have known that somebody who handwrites thank you notes also handwrites a journal every night. I love it. You put it in writing, you're almost like tying yourself to it. You're holding yourself accountable. I love that. Okay, so the very last thing we do here and on the list is called the mystery question, which is this is for number 73, episode 73. Okay. I've been doing this since episode 1, where I have the guest from the previous podcast leave a question for the next guest. Whoever.
No way.
Yeah, because it gives me a way to end the show, and it's a question maybe I didn't think of. And so
that's really smart, actually.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, Lance Bass stole this for his radio show and called it the Gursky question.
Oh, good. Okay, at least he gave you credit.
Oh, he gave me credit. Borrowed, I should say. Yeah. So I will open it. I don't know the question. It was sent to me by Ruben Fleischer, who directed the hit movie Uncharted with Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland. He was the guest on the last episode. So I open it and read it for you. And then you will send me a mystery question for my next guest, whoever that may be. Okay, so the mystery question for you is, what stands out as your single favorite memory from your movie-making career?
I would say at the end of everything that we had worked through on my first film, Wolves, getting that hug from Michael Shannon at the end of it was like the greatest culmination of the finishing of the project, and like the emotional let go that had built up for so long. I'd say that was probably one of my most special moments.
I love that story. And by the way, Ruben sent a second one. I was only going to do one, but I'll do it real quick. His second question on here is, what celebrity that you've met was the least like you expected them to be? You got 2 mystery questions.
Wow.
Or it could even be that they, surprised you in a good way.
I guess Amy Adams, just because she was she's a superstar because she's such a regular person, I guess, if that makes sense. She'd be singing karaoke like during lunch in between takes. She knew everybody's name on set. And meanwhile, you only see this person on TV or on film, and you create this version of them in your head. When then you get to meet her, like, oh, you're just like this really fun, incredible woman, this great mom, great wife, and just like loves to have a good time. You're not like this unattainable, superhero. You're like a regular person. It got me very excited about, meeting other people of her caliber, because I'm like, I don't know, it makes it all seem more accessible.
Right.
Like I could do it, and like anybody else can do it, because they're just regular people,
Exactly. They're a regular person just doing an extraordinary job,
Exactly.
She's always been humble too. She's been nominated for 6 Oscars. I knew her back when she got her first one for Junebug. I knew her manager. And she's overdue for an Oscar, and she should do more comedies based on your stories.
Come on.
Comedies.
Or When Arrival came out, I was like, oh, so good. So good.
Yeah. But even Enchanted, I guess you can see she has those comedy chops.
She's hilarious.
You can do it all.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Those are great answers. So that is a wrap on episode 73. We covered it all.
Woo!
We got to celebrate Where the Crawdads Sing. We got to tell the Taylor John Smith origin story. So thank you, Taylor, for doing this. I loved it. Hope you had a good time.
I love you, brother. Thank you so much for having me, Brett. And let's do it again sometime.
I know. The next movie. So everybody make your plan to go see Where the Crawdads Sing when it comes out in theaters on July 15th. If you haven't seen his other work, go back and check it out. And I can't wait to see what you do next. I'm very excited for you. Thank you again to Taylor. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And I will talk to you.
Thank you for listening.
I will talk to you next time. Bye.
All right. Bye.